I've got better at that controlling the music thing, don't you think? And you know why that is? Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 10. We've done 10 episodes. I put on the disco lights to celebrate our 10th episode. Pow, pow, pow. How you like me now? How you like us now? Look what we've accomplished. Look what we did together. 10 episodes. Can you believe it? I mean, that's an accomplishment. And accomplishments mean celebration. Accomplishments get to be celebrated. Remember that, okay? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, 10 episodes. Oh my Google. Look, I even got to celebrate. I got my favorite cookies. They're like birthday cake and a cookie. I love these. And it's my 10th episode and I'll eat a cookie if I want to. Pow, pow, pow. It's my 10th episode and I'll eat a cookie if I want to. It's my 10th episode and I'll eat a cookie if I want to. It's my 10th episode and I'll eat a cookie if I want to. It's our 10th episode. Hey, what was that song my friend Joe Kahn sings? He goes, my body is a temple, my mind is a shrine, I'm divine, every chakra in my spine is aligned by design. It's simple, first you grind, then you shine. Get yours, I'ma get mine, now is our time. Wow, is that not the truth or what? What? Thank you, Real Joe Kahn. Thank you, Anna Diorio. They have a hip hop group called Flowstate, and I'm 55, I like hip hop. It was always been around my life. So I've moved the lights around today, got them in different positions because we are constantly learning and we're constantly working to make ourselves better and get smarter and faster and stronger and all the good things that we can do once we put our mind to it. And, oh, wow. Oh, gosh. You know who I got on the episode today? One of my best friends, one of my favorite people. His name is Andrew Newman, and he is the youngest person we've had on the show yet. And don't worry, they're going to get younger. He's 24. He's already graduated college. He just graduated, I think, maybe 2 years ago. And he's fresh. And I want to introduce you to him. So I'm gonna zip. I got a lot to talk about. I got a little bit of time, a lot to talk about, something like that. But there's all this information that Andrew's going to get across to us right now. So we're going to zoom right into that interview. You ready? Here we go. Pow, pow, pow. This is the technological breakthroughs we have available to us. 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live. 10th episode, Mike Mongo's Astronaut Adventures. Rah! I got the special disco lights in the background today. I am super excited to be present and live right now with one of my favorite human beings on the entire planet. The youngest person who's been on Astronaut Adventures yet. My great friend, Andrew Newman.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me. It's really great to be talking to you and talking to all your viewers about what we're going to talk about today.
What are we going to talk about, Andrew?
I don't know, Mike, you tell me.
We're going to talk about students and space the reason I'm super excited about having Andrew on Astronaut Adventures today is because Andrew is one of those people that I saw when he was you become who he is today. And who he is today is a person who has pursued space all the way from being a high school student to being a college student to now being a college graduate. So I have a question for you, Andrew.
Go for it.
When did you first realize that you love space?
Oh, man. When I was 5 years old.
Really?
Yeah, no, actually.
I mean, me too.
Because I've lived outside of DC for most of my life.
Washington, D.C.?
Sorry?
Washington, D.C.?
Washington, D.C. And we are so lucky to have the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum in DC. So from the time I was 5, every summer I would go multiple times to the National Air and Space Museum. And
who would take you?
My mom would definitely take me, of course.
Cool. You had a good mom.
I did, yeah. And actually that comes into play, later on with my space interests.
Is she still a good mom?
Oh, for sure.
Awesome.
For sure.
So you went to the National Space Museum?
Yes.
National Air and Space Museum?
Yes.
Since you were a little kid.
Absolutely.
So you
Yep.
always saw rockets.
Rockets. They had a little bit of like a replica of an American space station, Skylab. And they just had these beautiful, insanely interesting exhibits on space and astronautics. And I thought, I want to be an astronaut.
Wow. Okay, I want you to know. So I think that you're 24 years old, which means that you're our first guest under 25. And I want you to know that when I was you as a 5-year-old, I was really excited about Skylab because Skylab was actually in space when I was you as a 5-year-old.
Awesome.
I remember it. Astronauts, I remember that was one of the first times I ever saw astronauts exercise in space.
Wow.
They could run around in a circle. I don't know if you've ever seen, but because it was low gravity and they had a big container, they could just run around all the way around. Super exciting. So when did you decide, do you remember when you decided that you wanted to work in the space industry?
I do. So in high school, when I was younger, when I was 5, it was kind of a pipe dream, right? I knew that like a lot of kids wanted to be an astronaut, and I thought, we'll see what happens. And when I was in high school, I was following the progress of SpaceX because this was in the pretty early days of SpaceX. They had only launched, I don't even know if they'd launched the Falcon 9, like their main rocket right now at the time.
SpaceX is one of the big space companies that is different than NASA. It is now. So you're saying when SpaceX was brand new.
Yes, right. So I was following SpaceX since then. And my 3rd year in high school, there was this big space conference coming to Washington, D.C. called the International Space Development Conference. And I said to my Mom, I have to go to this. I'm going to take a few days off of school. And she's like, cool, I'll drop you at the metro and then you can get into the conference. So my mom called in and she's like, yeah, he's going to be taking some days off of school to do this. I don't think the school was very happy, but, great mom. So she pushed back and let me do it. And I remember very vividly at the conference, this was when SpaceX's Dragon capsule was docking with the International Space Station for the first time.
Oh my gosh.
And so they had the live feed of this video on the massive projectors in the conference room. And just the excitement around watching this historical step, because this was the first time a commercial company was docking with the International Space Station. And just the excitement from everybody at the conference about, hey, this is our next step into the future, right? This is how we get people into space, right? So you don't have to be with NASA. And I was so excited. I'm like, I want to be part of this. How do I become part of it?
Did it make a difference being around people who loved space?
Oh, absolutely.
When you were watching that?
For sure, right? And I'd be talking to people. Sorry?
Did it make it better?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you will remember that for your whole life?
For sure. I mean, it's been, 7-8 years since then, and I still remember that moment very vividly.
Wow. I got to tell you that is a really important moment right now because it's amazing that you would share this story with us. We both know that this month, SpaceX is going to the International Space Station with human beings for the first time. So yeah. SpaceX, the Crew Dragon. So that was the Cargo Dragon, and this is the Crew Dragon that's launching on May 27th.
Yeah, it's come full circle. Here we are.
And I also want you to know that I was really excited when you're telling that story because I know that feeling. When I'm around people who love what I do it makes all the difference in the world, because if I'm around people who aren't excited like I'm excited, it kind of feels like a little bit of a rain, like a damp on the parade, they say. People say it's like a rain on my parade. But when I'm around people who love space as much as I do, it is like we share our excitement. You can look around and you see people's face and they're excited as you feel. That's the best feeling.
Absolutely.
So when you were in high school, so did that, when you went to I've been to me and you have seen each other at the International Space Development Conference. We saw each other. You came to the International Space Development Conference where I spoke last year and came and visited me. You came up on stage with me.
Yeah. I was a panelist for your panel.
You're the awesomest. Thank you. So when on your shirt, I think that there's a logo that's really important.
Oh, there it is. SEDS-USA.
So SEDS-USA and you and me are great friends. In fact, you used to be the chairperson of SEDS-USA.
I was. And actually, do you know how I heard about SEDS-USA?
I do.
So,
but I want to hear it.
At the International Space Development Conference, right, when I was in my junior year or third year in high school, I thought, this is awesome. I need to get involved. And so I saw somebody who looked like a college student who was just volunteering there. And I went up to him and I'm like, hey, like, how did you get the chance to volunteer here? And he's like, oh, I did it through.
I got to interrupt before. I know you're about to say, but I got to interrupt right here. You took the initiative and you walked up to somebody and you asked that question.
Absolutely.
Were you scared when you did that? Were you nervous?
Oh, for sure. Right. I was, how old was I at the time? 16, 17-year-old in this conference full of, most of them were, 40s, 50s, 60s. There were some 20 and 30-year-olds. And the person I walked up to, early 20s, definitely a lot older than I was at the time. I was very nervous, for sure.
But you did it anyway.
Did it anyway.
And then what did you say?
So I asked him, like, how did you get the chance to volunteer here? And he said, oh, I'm part of this student organization called SEDS, and they just put out a call for volunteers. And I made a note in my mind. I thought, I am a year or two away from college. When I get into college, I'm either going to join a SEDS chapter or start a SEDS chapter. Wow. True story.
And did you do that?
I did. So I went to Virginia Tech.
Yay, Virginia Tech.
Hey. And in my first 2 or 3 weeks there, I asked around. There was another like Aerospace club, and I said, hey, is there a SEDS club here? Or do you know anything about it? And the person there said, oh, we used to have a SEDS club. I think somebody is starting it back up. I'll put you on like the list to get information about it. I thought, great. So I got the invitation to like an intro meeting for not even like, the club didn't even exist yet. It doesn't exist, but we want to start it. So let's figure out how to start it. And at the time, I think they just said right then, like, hey, let's just do an election to figure out, who's going to be the leadership for this club. And what did I run for? I ran for like something like the lowest leadership position I could, right? But I thought as a freshman, I wasn't going to get it, right? I was in a room full of people older than me. But I ran for it and got it. And so that was my first entry into SEDS and like being part of the SEDS family.
Wow. So there's there's a second time that you went above yourself. You went bigger than yourself and it worked to your advantage.
Absolutely. And it certainly was not the last time.
You were nervous.
Oh, I was very nervous. I had to get up and like talk in front of all of these other students who had been in college for years.
Wow.
Right. And there I was 2-3 weeks into college. It was nerve-wracking.
Really brave. And then what? So when you joined SEDS, you went on, and like how you and I know each other is we met at a SpaceVision conference at ASU. That's where I met Dr. Simon.
North Carolina.
At Arizona. At where?
North Carolina?
Nope.
No?
Nope. At ASU. And you know how I remember?
I've never been to Arizona in my life.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I got it confused.
I think it was North Carolina, because you gave I think, presentation on how to get a job in space.
That was the first time I met you? How to get hired in aerospace. You can watch that online. That was one of my favorite talks I ever gave.
Oh, it was a big hit. I loved it.
Thank you very much. Wow, that's where I met you. So that was, well, we met at SEDS. We met at SpaceVision. And that made a big difference in my life because you've been a big inspiration. I've been able to introduce people to the space industry and to working in space and the SEDS through introducing them to you. And you're one of the people that I've been able to rely on to inspire other people all along the way.
Thanks.
So, and now SEDS has high school chapters.
Love it. That's great.
So a person in middle school could start a SEDS chapter in high school.
Absolutely.
I think that there's even some SEDS middle school chapters, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
Yeah. So SEDS stands for the Students for the Exploration and Development of Space. And you ran for that chapter, and then you became the chairperson of all the chapters in the United States.
Yeah, but getting from being this low leadership position at Virginia Tech SEDS all the way up to SEDS-USA, it wasn't a leap, right? There were a couple more steps along the way to get there.
Like, what were some of the steps? This is
so of course
This is an important question. I interrupt a lot. I know. I get really excited. And this is an important question. And this is one of the reasons I have you on right now. Because of the students watching, they want to know how to get from where they are. I get that question all the time, Andrew. How do people who are in middle school or in high school message me on Instagram especially, how do I grow up to become an astronaut? Or how do I get a job in space career? And so you're saying that there's steps along the way.
Absolutely.
This is great information.
And they're not huge steps. They all build on each other. So I went to SpaceVision for the very first time. It may have been my sophomore year, which is my second year in college. And at that time, so I had been in Virginia Tech SEDS for a year. And then the next year in college, the leader of our chapter had graduated. And there wasn't really anybody else who wanted to lead the chapter. And I thought, hey, I'll do it. So I ran for it, had to give a speech in front of a room full of people again. But by that point, I was a little bit more confident and able to deliver a better speech.
So each time you became a little more confident.
Absolutely. And then I was elected for the chair for Virginia Tech SEDS. And then just a few months later, I went to SpaceVision, which is the SEDS conference.
For
and they had a list. Sorry?
Students put SpaceVision on. Students put all of this on.
Yep. All student run. It's a very impressive conference for sure, for like students running and managing it. It's great. But before going to the conference, they put out a call saying, hey, we're having our board of directors elections, right? So if you wanted to be in the group that was running SEDS-USA, you could apply and then give a speech
all the
in front of
chapters.
Exactly, right?
All around the whole country and all the colleges.
Absolutely. So at that time, SEDS was kind of small at that time. There were only, I think when I ran, there were only 20, 25 chapters.
There's almost 100 now.
I know. And so again, I had to write a speech and deliver it in front of people.
Yes.
This time, you know, I had been delivering speeches for Virginia Tech SEDS in front of 20 people. But this time there was almost an auditorium full of people, right? There were probably 100, 200, maybe 300 people, you know, watching me give a speech for the at-large board member position.
I've seen you nervous before.
I'm sure you have. And I was very nervous, but I got through the speech running up against, you know, people with more experience than me and people older than me. But I think what got me elected were two things. I was very clear in my thinking when I was talking to people, and I was very clearly passionate. And it seems like such a silly thing, but a lot of the people who would get up there, you would assume they would want the position, but they just would not come across as passionate. And I mean, honestly, a lot of that is probably nerves and being very nervous to speak in front of people. Mm-hmm. But just that simple switch of I am super passionate and really love this and want it, I think helped me out a lot.
So it came from your heart.
It did.
I always tell students, I say this all the time, that if you follow your heart, it'll never lead you wrong. Oh, I saw your math mug right there.
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah, that's great. You must be smart. I know you're smart. So,
I mean, I think a lot of being smart in like math and science and engineering, none of it comes you don't just know this stuff, right? You have to work really hard to be smart in math and engineering and science.
So I say that we get to work really hard because we're doing what we love. A lot of times people say we have to work hard, and if I have to do something that I don't want to do, it feels like I have to. But when I'm working hard on something that I really love, it's a get to. Like last night, I was up really late editing a video that's going to go onto YouTube and Facebook that it's going to encourage students to pursue careers in space and astronautics. And I was up really late for a grown-up even. But it didn't matter to me because I knew that what I was doing was important and that my heart was in it. And one time I was at an International Space Development Conference in Toronto, and there was a 16-year-old who had a poster up. And as I passed by, I said, "That's a great poster." And he goes, "Thank you." And he goes, "How's your conference?" And I said, "Good." And I said, "How's your conference?" And he said, "Great. I heard somebody just told me that if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life." And I stopped him and I said, "Young man, I want you to know that that is 100% the opposite of the truth. 100%. If you do what you love, you never work harder at anything in your life." What do you think?
I agree with that 100%. Right? When you do what you love, working hard at something, it's going to be tough, right? You're going to run into obstacles, you're going to struggle, and if you don't love it, right, it's very hard to push through that and get to the other side, whether that's, you know, running for a leadership position for something or building a rocket, right? Without the love for that, it was all hard work to get there, right? Absolutely. But you need the love to enjoy the hard work, for sure.
I think it's the thing that pushes me. If I had to do what I did last night and it wasn't something that I love, I might have gone to bed and left it undone. But because it was something I loved, I just kept on going. And this reminds me, the reason I joined SEDS, I was a grown-up. You remember, I was a grown-up when I joined SEDS. I went back to university. I did university for 13 years. I love school so much. And I went back to school as a full grown-up to join SEDS because only students can join SEDS. And it was you on stage talking that inspired me to do it.
Awesome. I never knew that. That's great.
What's our friend?
I'm glad I could inspire you to do that.
So I was at the front. You were on a panel Josh Jenkins. You remember our friend Josh Jenkins?
Of course.
Doesn't he work at SpaceX now?
No, he works at ULA.
He works at ULA, and Tori Bruno is a great friend of mine. And so,
who's Tori Bruno?
Say again?
Who's Tori Bruno?
Tori Bruno is the CEO of United Launch Alliance. I know you know who he is. Thanks for asking me, because it's important. I say Jim Bridenstine runs NASA, and Tori Bruno runs United Launch Alliance, and Elon Musk runs SpaceX, and Jeff Bezos runs Blue Origin, and Gwen Shotwell. She's important. She's the president of SpaceX. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure who runs Boeing or Lockheed Martin. And there's also Sierra Nevada, and there's a new company called Dynetics. And so there's a lot of space companies to work at now. So when I was at a SpaceVision conference, and you were on stage talking about something, and Josh Jenkins was next to me, and this is really important because I was thinking, wow, I should go back to school to join SEDS, because I had met so many great friends through SEDS, including you, and people that were inspiring me even as a grown-up. And SEDS has been around at least 30 years. And so I said out loud, I should go back to school and join SEDS. And our friend Josh Jenkins was right next to us, right next to me. You were on stage. And he goes, yeah, right. And I said, what? And he goes, you're not going to do that. Well, you know me. I was like, I was practically enrolled by the time he finished.
So you were on your phone like, I'm going to do it right now.
Because it's that fast now here in the future. You can enroll in college online really quick. So that's all very inspiring. That's what I'm super happy that you came on the show today for our 10th episode.
Of course. So excited to talk to you and everybody.
I have one last question. So I like to encourage. I know that you are working on your own projects now, and you'll continue to work with. And a lot of our friends are in the space industry, and you're going to continue to work on the space industry. Do you think your entire life?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not going to work in the space industry your entire life?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So what does that mean?
Well, so I don't know that to contribute to our future in space that you need to be working for maybe like a typical space company. Because if you think about colonizing Mars or colonizing space and sending lots of people to space, take, for example, you have kids in space. They need to learn somehow. And I don't think that how we teach kids on Earth is going to translate the same way to space.
You think we're going to teach, and when we teach kids in space, it's going to be different than how we teach kids on Earth?
I do, right? And I honestly think that how we teach kids on Earth might change based on how we do in space. Because in space, you probably won't have at first like the same number of teachers you do on Earth. Right? So you're going to have to adapt and find new ways of engaging students and teaching students. And so I'm not working in education right now, but that's like one example, right? By working in education, you could absolutely impact space. And so what I'm working on today is making it easier to work with congressmen and your elected officials. And part of that is because I want to make it easier for us to make the legislation for space that we need.
So you're working in space as a student led you to pursue the thing you love most of all right now.
Yep.
I totally endorse that. I 100% agree. When I was you, I wanted to be an astronaut. And then when I grew up, I decided that I would much prefer to be an astronaut teacher, to give students permission to imagine themselves living, working, and playing in space. And to do that, we don't all have to be astronauts. We can we can do all kinds of different space jobs, and we don't even have to do space jobs in space. That's, to me, the most exciting thing. Is when I was you, I had one idea what space was, and now that I'm me, or actually when I was way younger than you, so there's a place that you were once and that I was once. Like when you were 5 and then when I was 5, we were both that person one time. And we both had an idea of who we would be in the future. We imagined ourselves. And then we grew up and became who we became. I was once a 25-year-old, so I became that person. And then when I became you as a 25-year-old or 24-year-old, I decided that I was going to go in this direction with education. So I totally understand what you're saying. I evolve. I think that's really important. I think that people who don't evolve get stuck or frustrated.
I agree, 100%.
Cool. Wow, that's really important ideas. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show, Mike.
Oh my gosh. Andrew, I hope you'll come again on the show again and tell us about what you're working on sometime in the future.
Be happy to. Let's do it.
Thanks for inspiring me about space and my future.
Of course, Mike. Always.
Keep up the good work.
Bye, Mike.
Bye. Pow, pow, pow. Okay, listen. You know how I know that was a great interview? Because I watched it with you. Like, I don't just play that. I'm there with you watching that. Was that amazing? I mean, Andrew Newman, you're so great. Thank you for being on our 10th episode of Astronaut Adventures. You know, when I started this, it was like when you took that step to go say hello to that college student when you were in high school and you walked up to a person who was older than you and asked them, how do you do this? When I started the show, I didn't know how to do a YouTube channel. I didn't know how to do all the streaming. I didn't have all these lights. I didn't have the gimbal. I love the gimbal. The robot that I get to play around with, and that if I move around with, it follows me. Like, I love the gimbal. The gimbal is like one of my favorite things. I didn't know anything about any of this stuff, but then I took that chance. Just like you took that, just like Andrew Newman took that chance. And just like you're watching this, I give you permission to take chances. If somebody hasn't given you permission, I give you permission. If someone has given you permission, I am with them and I agree. You have permission. Now, that said, I want you to know that Andrew didn't get to be as successful as he is without making mistakes. And I certainly didn't get to be who I am without making mistakes. Mistakes are a major, important part of who we are, and some of them are crushing. Some mistakes feel as if we will never be able to fix them. We'll never be able to get over them. Some mistakes feel like that. I've made those mistakes. I want you to know that. It is so important for me to communicate that. And Andrew gave us the perfect opportunity. Because what if Andrew had walked up to that student and that student had said, hey, I'm busy. Get away from me. Now, would Andrew have been kind of embarrassed and decide he's never going to do that again? Or would that have made him stronger? And then he's going to go and find somebody else. Because remember, as I tell you, as I share, some people are jerks. And some people aren't just jerks, that's who they are. Some people, like, we have bad days. Have you been a jerk before? Probably. Have I been a jerk before? I hope not this morning. Definitely. Definitely in my life. I get to apologize to people sometimes. I don't get to be a jerk all the time and then just keep on apologizing. Sometimes it's just an accident. I didn't realize I hurt someone's feeling or stepped on someone's toes. And then I say I'm sorry. And if it was a big deal, gosh, I have a friend, Jerry Curtis, and I was really busy one time I was working on the pandemic. I was working to keep people alive. And he was calling me about something very important to him. Now, Jerry's a really good friend of mine, but I was really short with him on the phone. Now, it turns out that Jerry is one of those professional, oh yeah, that's not the phone symbol. This is the phone symbol now, because we don't talk, this is the old phone symbol, this is the new phone symbol. So I was really short with him on the phone, which means I was rude. And it happened more than once because I was really busy with the pandemic. That's not an excuse. That was justification. That was the excuse I made up. Because when someone is important to us, we're not rude. We take the time for them. And these lessons are important. And so finally, Jerry called me up and he said, Mike, I got to talk to you about something. And I want you to know, I knew exactly what he was going to talk to me about. I was ashamed. And I let him know. And I got to let him know. I got to. I didn't have to. Jerry Curtis matters to me. I didn't want to go through the rest of my life without Jerry Curtis as my friend. I'm super happy we made up. I'm super happy he has, so it's two ways. Not only was I apologetic, and not only does he know that I'm not the type of person that makes mistakes and does it again, so he has compassion in his heart. He was forgiving. It's hard to forgive people sometimes. I've had other friends that have turned out not to be friends and that have stolen stuff from me. Woo! That was hard. That was hard. And I forgive them. It doesn't mean that I keep them around. And it doesn't mean I put my stuff in their hands. And some of them it does. Some of them, they grow and they realize. And they talk about how they made mistakes. And sometimes we never have to talk about it again. You figure it out as you go along. But my point is this. You're going to make mistakes. I need you to remember this, because sometimes when we make mistakes, we forget it. And we think it's the end of the world. And I give you my word, it is not. If it was the end of the world for every time I made a mistake, we would not be having this conversation. You need to know that. I am who I am because of the mistakes that I made. Those mistakes help define me. It lets me know who I don't want to be. Once I was in the Army, and one of my, we call battle buddies, and one of my battle buddies had smuggled in candy when we were not allowed to have candy where we were. We weren't allowed to have anything like that. And then the drill sergeants asked, whose candy is this? Nobody answered. I was young. I'm about to make a mistake, and I'm about to share it with you. And they, in the Army, they will do something, we get smoked, which means physical punishment, exercise, not like spanking, like exercise. They got this thing called the Green Man, and you bounce up and down with your hand on your head, and you do that for 20 minutes, and suddenly your knees are burning, your legs are burning, and everybody's, it hurts like crying hurt. And then finally, like 45 minutes into being smoked with all these different exercises meant to wear us out, I said, it was so-and-so. I said, it was so-and-so. And the drill sergeant said in front of everybody, that's all right. We just want to know who the tattletale was. And I want you to know that lesson stuck with me. Because there's times when it's important to stand up and say, this is the situation. This is how it happened. And there's other times and those lessons, the reason I tell you that story is because of this. The reason I shouldn't have said anything is because that was my friend. It wasn't a big deal. He needed to count on me. And that memory has stayed with me. This is not a small thing, this is a big thing. What if somebody else in my life who counted on me and expected me to keep a secret? Not a bad secret, not a bad secret, not a bad secret. And there are bad secrets. What if somebody counted on me and expected me to keep a secret? Like, I fell and I broke my sister's favorite pencil. Don't tell anybody. See what I mean? Because I'm gonna replace it, I swear. And so, we gotta let these things play out naturally sometimes. It's to everyone's advantage. It's to my advantage. People get to see that I'm the kind of person that they can trust with, well, come on, Gibble, that I can trust with. They can trust with that. Because that person made a mistake with the pencil. That's human experience. This is life. This is not someone saying, I just robbed a bank, don't tell anybody. That's different. This is not someone saying, I just hurt somebody, don't tell anybody. That's different. This is not someone saying, I just hurt you. Don't tell anybody. That's 100% different. This is the 10th episode of the Astronaut Adventures, and it's a celebration. And the only way we get to celebrate in the future is if you're here and I'm here. And the only way we get to do that is by knowing that we're going to be able to overcome any mistakes that we ever made. We can do it by being genuine, by being truthful, by being honest, by being loyal, by being thoughtful, by being considerate, by being helpful. Oh my gosh, I'm a big fan of helpful. I'm such a huge fan of helpful. We're going to have somebody on and they're going to talk about the importance of being helpful. Helpful is one of those things that help us get, like you ever make a mistake, here's a mistake. Oh, you ever yell at your mom? What? That is a mistake. Wow. Wow. In the very least, you're going to feel bad, especially if your mom is as important to you as was in Andrew's life. Andrew's mom was awesome. And so he probably once he was a kid, once, especially when he was a teenager, got angry and upset and emotional. He was like, Mom! And yelled and then feel bad. You know, my son Raphael's done that before. And then I said to him, is that the kind of person that you are? And you know what he said to me? No, I'm not that kind of person. And you know what? He isn't, which is awesome. It makes me happy. And you know what that sound? That's the Q&A sound here on the watch. Let's see if I could figure out the right button. Oh, take two. Okay, I figured out, I got that button. Wow. I want when you're here and I'm here and we're sharing time, it is important that you have important stuff to take away, really important stuff. And I'm going to give you, I know it's Q&A right now. There's 4 things I need you to remember. They get me through life. Okay? It's what I call my 4 principles. They're mine. I came up with them. I got them through life experience and I'm giving them to you. The first one is that everything always works out. You need to remember this. It's important. Oh my gosh. I don't care what breaks. I don't care what falls. I don't care who gets hurt. Everything is always going to work out. It is the facts. It's just, I got a new marker. You guys, look. Look at this. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And apparently it leaks. Wow. I just made a mistake. I just made a mistake all over the floor. Good thing it's water something. Oh, cool. It got on my spaceship helmet. I got to show you this. Look how cool this is. Baka. Oops. Baka. Look. Look, I just made a mistake. See? It's overcomable. Like, what? Am I supposed to get upset? Nah. My friend, oh gosh, I'll remember her name later. It was with a V, and Varela, and she would always say, oh, she's an important friend. Now, you're going to hear her name because I'm going to tell you again. So she would say to us, I've seen worse. And you know what? I've seen worse. That's not a big deal. But remember, we're talking about something important here, and I know it's Q&A, so we got to knock it out. I want you to have this on the 10th episode. I don't want you to leave here without just the most awesome information. So here we go. First, number 1, 4 principles. 1, everything. Remember this. This is the most important thing. Everything. Always works out. 100% true. 100% true. I put it to the test. Okay? Everything always works out. Got it? That's important. And, well, this is a funny situation. What about the fact that it doesn't look like everything always works out? What about when people die? Well, here's the other thing. 1, the truth makes us laugh. See, and so even in the face of of it appearing that everything's not working out, even though it appears that things don't work out, the fact of the matter is that it actually does somehow. And I'm not sure how yet. That's not my job. I didn't make the universe per se. Okay? So I know that everything always works out, and I know the truth makes me laugh. And if everything always works out, even despite the fact that it looks like it doesn't, wow, that's kind of funny. You mean we take everything a lot more serious than it needs to be? And that brings us up to another one. But I get the third one. The first one is everything always works out. The second one is the truth makes us laugh. And the third one, here we go. I love this one. Ignore. You know how I feel about that. Let's erase that and get it right. No runs, no drips, no errors. Ignore, alien. Orders. You gotta say it like with an alien voice. Ignore alien orders. Everything always works out. The truth makes us laugh. Ignore alien orders. Well, what does that mean, ignore alien orders? Like, who gets alien orders? Okay, well, here's an alien order. Ooh, I think I'm gonna steal that. That's an alien order. And I can tell you why, because it doesn't feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, that's not making us laugh. I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna do something to hurt other people. That's an alien order. Or if you, in your head, like, you know how we get ideas in our head? Like, we have conversations in our head all the time. Am I gonna get a strawberry milkshake or am I gonna get a vanilla milkshake? That little conversation. Well, if we have one like, I think I'm gonna smash that statue when no one's looking because I think it's ugly. It's the wrong shape. That's a funny thought. It may sound like us, but it doesn't feel like us. It may sound like us, but it doesn't feel like us. It may sound like us, but it doesn't feel like us. Things that are destructive in our head, like if we have an idea that's destructive, I'm gonna smash that cake. I'll show them. That's an alien order. And remember, ignore alien orders. Very important. And then the fourth one. I love ignoring it. Ignore alien orders. Okay, fourth one, last one. This, speaking of Jerry Curtis taught me this. It's not that serious. It's not that serious. It's not that serious. It's not that serious. That's super important, especially since we're talking about mistakes. Yeah, it's not that serious. Think about it. Look, let's go over here. This is my favorite. Okay, this is the place where you and I have these important conversations. It's not that serious. We make mistakes, and it's not that serious. It's not that it doesn't matter. That's different. But we don't get hung up on it. Like, let it make you. Don't stumble over a mistake. I mean, I know people that have done super dumb mistakes and they punish themselves terribly for it. That's not acceptable. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes. You will make mistakes. You almost certainly have made mistakes. As we get older, we get better. When people say it gets better, that's what we're talking about. I need you to know this. I need you to keep this with you. Everything always works out. The truth makes us laugh. Pow, pow, pow. Ignore alien orders, destructive thoughts. They sound like us, but they don't feel like us. And lastly, from my friend Jerry Curtis, it's not that serious. It's not that serious. That one came very late in the game. He taught me that one late. I was a full grown-up when I learned that one. And you can make your own principles. But those are 4 of mine, and they get me through. So no matter what I'm going through, I always remember, everything always works out. And if someone's telling me how terrible I am or what a bad person I am, and I'm really not, they're working to undermine me for some reason, I remember, the truth makes me laugh. Like when I was a kid, I had grown-ups say some really crummy things to me. They made me feel bad. And if I had known that the truth makes me laugh, wouldn't have had the same effect. That's how I learned it, actually. Because later I went on to say crummy things about myself. What are you, stupid, Mike? What are you, lazy, Mike? What's your problem, Mike? Like I would be alone talking to myself. And then I realized that I don't let other people talk to me like that. So why would I talk to myself like that? Or I don't like it when other people talk to me like that. So why would I talk to myself like that? Instead of, how about this? Wow, you look great. Oh my gosh, great job, Mike. That's me to me. And I want you to talk to you like that. If you found yourself talking to yourself like being really critical, take a break, just take a breather, take a step back. Whoa, just put everything on pause. Time out, pop, pop. Got it? And the last one is not that serious. Oh no, that was everything the truth makes me, everything always works out. The truth makes me laugh. Ignore alien orders, no destructive thoughts. They feel like us, they sound like us in our head, and they don't feel like us. Do they make us laugh? That's a great test. Got it? That's a good one. And then it's not that serious. You got this. Okay? All right, let's get to the Q&A. Holy smokes, I got questions from all over the world. You people, you know how to use social platforms. I dig it. All right, so look at this. Let's do this. Oh my Google, great gosh almighty, what time is it? We got time. Pow, pow, pow. Okay, that stuff has dried out of my hand. Good. All right. So cool. Let's get to the questions.
Let's get to the questions. Here we go. Okay. I like funny voices. I like funny voices. The one who asked me a question this week. Here we go.
This person, Montaba, I think he's in Africa. I don't know where he's from. I can't wait to find out. He didn't get a question in time. Okay, next. Let's see. Amruthra. Aha. What did she say? Satvik. All of these friends. Oh, here we go. Mr. Shabham Tiwari, ask me a question. Studies show that we can't hear sound in vacuum as there is no medium. Then how do we get to hear the rotation, revolution, and kind of sounds of different planets? Woo! Wow, that's a surprising question. All right, so you know what? We listen on different frequencies besides airwaves. We listen to radio signals and we translate them into sound. Things that are in space, a lot of things create their own radio signal. And so we listen on radio frequencies, and that's where we get, radio frequencies aren't something we can hear with our ears, but like things create radio frequencies. Anything that produces any sort of electrical activity is gonna have a radio frequency. Wow, that was a surprise question. Good question, Shabham Tiwari. I don't know where he's from. We'll find out. Let's see what else we got here. Ganishta sent me a thank you. He likes my show. Okay, cool. Let's keep going. Oh, what? How do I get this one? Log into existing account. Let's see what we can do here. Yeah, this is one of those moments. This is called a dramatic lull. I hope I remember the password. Who knows? So one of my friends definitely asked a question, and oh, you know what? Let's traverse over here, because this is important. If you all take the time to ask me a question, I'm going to take the time to figure out what the answer is. So let's get in here and see if the messages are. Oh, here's the messages. Cool. All right. Oh my gosh. You guys, I appreciate your patience. You know where the questions are? They're on the camera that is on this phone right here. Oh my gosh. Oh my great gooshamoosh. And you know what? People are looking at this who have taken the time to send these questions in. Well, if this doesn't exactly talk about what I'm talking about with mistakes, and you know what? We get to do it right. We get to spend a little more time and do it right. But we also, eventually, someday, things are just not going to go as planned. Like right now. Great googly moogly. Okay, one more time. I can't even remember the questions that were asked. That's the thing that is really the crusher here. And I really can't get to the questions right now. Oh, they're so good. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. You know what's gonna happen? It's the 10th episode, so it's gonna be on the 11th episode that I get to answer the questions of the people that ask me this. Woo! Look, I'm sweating. I'm not even kidding. Your questions matter to me. I really appreciate your patience and your understanding. I have the questions on the camera that I'm talking to right now. I can't access them. May 27th, mark it on your calendar. That is when I want you to look up OLHZN, Overlook Horizon. Overlook Horizon is going to be doing the broadcast of the SpaceX crewed launch. That's the first human beings to launch from space. SpaceX and NASA, May 27th. My friend Tori over at Overlook Horizon is going to be broadcasting live all day long. You're going to check that out, and I want you to plan ahead for it. Let your people know. Oh, gosh. My friend Paul Menta will kill me if I don't say this. MikeMongo.com. Remember what I do? How this whole show works? It's the 10th episode. I'm allowed to, it's like a little party and celebration here. We're having a little fun, okay? So forgive the look. I'm gonna do. Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm gonna do it left-handed, but I'm actually right-handed. So it's okay if I do it this way. Remember, as my friend Paul Menta says, go to MikeMongo.com, click on the buy Mike a coffee button. This is how this whole thing happens. All of this talk. Andrew putting his time together for us today, me getting this message out to you. This is how it can be supported. It's really simple and it's really appreciated. So, and people have been buying me coffee, so I think that's really cool. It's $3. Click on the button and support Mike Mongo's Astronaut Adventures. That's it. That's our show. Get out of here. We'll talk to you later. See you on Monday. 3 tips, the 3 best tips for being an astronaut coming up on Monday. 3 best tips for being a space explorer coming up on Monday. Mark your calendar. In the words of my people, pow, pow, pow. Oh my gosh. Is there anything left in this show? Is there anything left? I could go on. Can I tell you something? Oh my gosh. My friends, the things that I said in this show are probably some of the most important things I've ever said. Once upon a time, my friend George Clinton, who's this major important musician, said to me, he put on a show and it finished. And he said, goodbye, everybody. And I would say that 2/3 of the audience left. After a full concert, he's a musician. He played for an hour and a half and he said, goodbye, everybody. 20 minutes later, he comes back up on stage and he says, now that they're gone. And what he meant was that the people that aren't committed to doing what we're doing. And I already said goodbye, but maybe there's some people here like you right now. I'm giving you my word that I'm gonna do everything in my power to help move your career forward in space. I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're very young. I don't care if you're very medium young. I don't care if you're very kind of not young. I don't care if you're very old. If you are doing the work to live, work, and play in space, to be part of the space industry, to play along like in the same way that I am, then I'm gonna do everything in my power to help you. I just need you to remember, we make mistakes, and that's okay. You will get over it. You need to carry that with you. Everything always works out. The truth makes us laugh. Ignore alien orders. It's not that serious, in the words of my friend Jerry Curtis. It's to my friend, and I almost blew it because of a mistake. See? And our friendship's gonna be better for it. You just gotta trust these things. There's been a lot of people who came here before you. We've all made mistakes and we get through it. It's hard to imagine. This is called trust. You get to trust me. You get to. In this thing, that we make mistakes and you will get over it. Trust me, okay? All right, now, you stayed longer, so you got all this extra message. Good job. Again, in the words of my people, pa pa pa.